Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of this presentation is to bring to your attention questions that I have, that you may have, and if by any chance you have answers to these questions, we encourage you to place those answers at the bottom of this post so we can find them and we can correspond with you and then find the answers to these questions. But the questions that I will pose today pertain to this 1964 Civil Rights Act. I was told by two GOP judges in the state of Florida that the state of Florida contains an area that is historically, or that historically has been, racially segregated. I repeat, the statement goes like this: on two separate orders, one issued in 2007, the other one issued in 2009. And here is the what the order stated clearly. There was owned property in an area that historically has been racially segregated. Now, when you look at this order, if you don't know what the order is trying to say, or we don't understand it, it looks like there is nothing wrong with it. But except that the 1964 Civil Rights Act, you go check this out for yourself on the internet or anywhere. It's an act that forbids completely all the Jim Crow laws, the laws of separation, separate but equal, and all the racial segregation laws, all racial discrimination laws. By all its titles, the 1964 Civil Rights Act was the far most advanced, by far the most advanced and the most sublime Civil Rights Act ever passed in a bipartisan way on American soil. Now, this is what they said. I repeat, the Wards, that's me, own property that in an area that historically has been racially segregated. Now, again, when you look at the statement, it looks innocent, except when you do the linguistic work. If we do the linguistic, this is what we find out. Let's assume that I have a friend, and I'm going to talk to my friend about my son that is 10 years old. And I said that my son, when we were living together, he was a straight A student. Automatically, that this is a state of the past. I say something that occurred in the past. He was a straight A student when we lived together. That's a linguistic. Now, let's assume that I meet that same friend, and I say to that friend, my son, who is 10 years old, historically has been a straight A student. Automatically, I'm saying something different. I say that my son continues to be a straight A student in his school, because I combine together the word historically and has been. When you combine those two in a linguistic manner, the grammar says you bring that thing to current reality. The judges are trained in linguistic work, so they understand grammar clearly and they speak great English. Therefore, they understand. Therefore, that makes it an intentional ill. They have emitted those words intentionally. Now, let's assume that we also currently have many prominent African Americans in many prominent offices in the United States government, including the Commander-in-Chief. Let's assume the Commander-in-Chief, one night after a long day of work, because he works long hours, after a long day of work, decides to relax in the Lincoln's bedroom in the White House, and then he saw a sign. Let's assume that. Now we're assuming that. We're imagining. He saw a sign that said, stay away, because this Lincoln bedroom historically has been racially segregated. Now that would make the headline on every newspaper the next morning. But that's exactly what they told me. They told me, as a naturalized citizen of the United States, I was not born here. I came here because of the 1964 Civil Rights Act that banned racial segregation everywhere in the U.S. And yet, I was told that I own property as a castle designer, a real estate developer. I own property in an area that historically has been racially segregated. This, they said, in defiance to the U.S. Constitution. This, they said, in defiance to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. This, they said, in defiance to the 1995 Property Rights Act of the state of Florida. This, they said, in defiance to the HUD, the HUD, the Housing and Urban Development rules against steering. This, they said, to my detriment. It was a prejudicial statement that condemned all my properties and that locked me out of luck. Therefore, everything that I had disappeared. All my properties gone because they were all encumbered by not only what the Walton County did at the get-go, but by what the judge did to support the Walton County. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2007, the trial court in northern Florida emitted the following statement. I own property in an area that historically has been racially segregated. And they repeated that same statement on March 31st, 2009. In closing my case, they closed the case to my detriment, and I've lost millions of dollars worth of properties. You be the judge, and your turn surely may be next. So don't take this lightly. Learn carefully, because there's a lot of things for all of us to learn from this fiasco. Now, if the judges can state search, can you and I make the same comment and be accepted by anybody? If we cannot be, if you and I violate the law, if we say so, the judges also violate the law when they say so. And I don't believe that this is a United States problem. I don't believe the United States is segregated. I think the judges are segregated in their minds because they live in the South, and we understand that the South has a great difficulty to accommodate, to adjust, and to comply with the requirements of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. Therefore, we face a serious problem. And we call upon the powers of the Commander-in-Chief to check this thing out. We call upon the powers of the United States Supreme Court, upon the powers of the United States Congress, upon the powers of the Department of Justice, upon the powers of the Homeland Security. We call upon the powers of all these great authorities to investigate the facts. For I do not believe that America is segregated. Some people may have segregation in their mind. That's their agenda. But I believe America does not stand for segregation. Therefore, I ask the authorities to respectfully, kindly, to really go and investigate those things. I hold these truths. These are not things, I'm not making these things up. What they said is in the record, is on paper, and I will show you the paper even on this tape, and then upon your request you will have the same thing. By the way, if you request that via email, I will send you the link where you're going to go on the internet and read what they place on the internet. It's right here, and it's right here. The wars on property in an area that historically has been racially segregated. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you feel like, I'm saying this, I'm coming out of this because it's after 7 years of intense suffering, 7 years of sheer pain, 7 years of mental anguish, and nobody cared. In America, somebody has to rise up and say enough is enough. I ask for mandatory release so many times. Not one dime has been given to me, even though my money was extorted from me. They made me pay $55,000 in a heartbeat because they promised to have me enjoy my property. $55,000 gone. I believe I have the record of that $55,000 also, and then you can see right here. and I paid $55,000. $55,000. Gone, gone. They never gave or delivered what they promised. Again, they took my money, and I had to wash and bow that money to pay them right away, thinking that I was going to have my properties unencumbered to sell them. So they blocked interstate commerce. They blocked my marketing of the place. They blocked my living on my property. They blocked my owning the property. Therefore, I could not own. I could not dwell in that area. I could not do business in that area. The interstate commerce laws were banished for me. You be the judge. For what happens to me can happen to you anytime. May God bless this great country. May God bless the United States of America.